what would you recommend people to prep themselves up for it so that they can be able to flourish in the future?
So hopefully I'm not too biased, but I definitely think a technical career focused on programming or software engineering, I think those are winning tickets.
So coding.
Yeah. So essentially computers are general process, objects, and there's sort of like one of my professors made the equivalence that they're like very dumb file clerks, but they're very fast. And I think the ability to tell a computer what to do, to automate something, I think that's key. I think that's a very useful skill. There are people who can now automate, many of the activities in their home with computers. So I think that really is the technology you want to focus on, the sort of career. It's very common. It's very in demand right now. That's what I want to say. As sort of a skilled tech worker, have a very nice salary, very comfortable lifestyle, and I think it will continue like that. Because I think there will always be a need for someone to design the computers, design the systems, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So it sounds like machine learning or AI, it's more like a tool. And and a tool is only as good as the person who wields it.
Yeah. It's interesting. There was a criticism by Lady Lovelace that machines can never be truly intelligent because they can't be creative. They can only do what you tell them
true?
to. It was a proposition, and actually Alan Turing in his landmark paper about can machines think, he addresses it, but he doesn't fully answer it. And I think it's still a reasonable objection that, at least with our current models, can they really surprise you? I mean, they can surprise you, but can they be creative? Can they come up with a new solution? Most of our models right now, you just give it a lot of data, and if it's seen it before, it will get the answer right. But a problem we face a lot is that when you move to another hospital, which practices medicine slightly differently, it's seeing different data, and all of a sudden you have no idea whether it's going to perform well, and 99% of the time it performs terribly because it hasn't seen that before. So there is that question.
How much of the error is human-made, though, right?
In terms of transferring the model, well, it's just a sort of a very reasonable inference about a change of practice, a change of data collection that any one of us could make. The machine can't. So if all of a sudden, instead of measuring heart rate before blood pressure, this next hospital measures heart rate after blood pressure, something as trivial as that can trip up the model, because maybe it's seen the only times that they sort of flipped that in hospital A was when things were going really bad and they were rushed. So it's going to think, that's a signal for things being really bad, when in reality they just practice it almost insignificantly differently. So I think I still kind of think that's an objection to AI in general, to whether we can actually make systems which can reason, which can have a model of the world and adapt that model. I don't think we have anything that does it near that. Obviously people are working towards it, but it's a very open question.
So what's the most important point that you want to make to us today?
So there was this very good article that I highly recommend everyone read. I don't remember the exact title, but it was roughly, there is no fire alarm for general AI, for AI. And this article makes a very true point about science in general, which is that it tends to be incremental. So science, proceeds down a path that we expect. You have a method, it gets slightly better, it gets slightly better, it gets slightly better. And that's most of scientific progress. But there is some progress which comes out of nowhere and is a breakthrough. And you have a rapid advance that no one really would have predicted. There's a very poignant example of this in 1943, when Pauli, who was the expert in physics at the time, said that he didn't believe nuclear fission was possible. And then in 1945, it clearly was very possible in a very dramatic fashion. So even though we have experts who are arguing about what will become of AI, you always have to be a little bit skeptical, because there's always the possibility that you have a radical breakthrough that none of us would have predicted. And I think it's a very good point to keep in mind.
So you're basically hedging.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean,
right.
You know,
you only need one black swan to throw everything off.
Yeah, the money is on that we don't have any breakthroughs, that we keep having incremental progress, that you know, you can sort of predict which fields will be most disrupted, but there's always the possibility that a researcher from a university comes up with a totally new way of doing things, and all of a sudden it's a lot more dramatic of a change.
Right. Here's another question. Last question. I just thought of it on the spot. Corporations